Hello, welcome to No Sevens Dice Club college football edition. Today we are talking about week 5 of college football. Last week was not a good week for No Sevens. We went 1-3. Lost on Cooking with Cleavage. Lost on her picks with the bully picks that she recommended. It was just completely lopsided. LSU got manhandled. Oklahoma lost. I mean, it was just a week full of upsets. It didn't work out that well for a lot of people. But for the year, we're still 5-3. So we're not doing great, but we are still above 50%. So we're still hanging in there, still doing well. Give you kind of a sports update. If you saw that the Tampa Bay Lightning, they won the Stanley Cup. That was a great series. The New York Islanders played a really great game. If you follow hockey, New York Islanders had no chance of even being in the playoffs. They took the Tampa Bay Lightning before they played the Dallas Stars. The Tampa Bay Lightning played the Dallas Stars. The New York Islanders took them almost to the brink and would have been playing in the Stanley Cup. So my hat's off to the New York Islanders for playing such a great game. NBA is on the finals right now. You got the Miami and you have Los Angeles playing right now. Just so many different sports being played right now. So we went from no sports to the end of September, 1st of October. You got everything going on: NBA, hockey, college football, NFL, and baseball, of course, being played right now. But anyway, we came here. We were going to talk about week 5. We're not going to worry about what happened in week 4. Week 4 was just a complete disaster. And let's look at the games. So the first game we have on our lineup is on Friday. It's Louisiana Tech versus BYU. And if you've been following BYU has been on a mission. And it's really a shame because they had scheduled some really good games this season before COVID-19. And unfortunately, a lot of those games have gotten nixed. But if you look at the teams that they've played, I mean, they are one of the hottest teams right now. BYU and Miami are probably the two hottest teams. Miami is off this week. But I want to give you a kind of a recap of what's going on with BYU. They went ahead. They played Navy. They destroyed Navy. If you remember this, in week 3, we were talking about... week 4, I think it was. It was week 3 or week 4, I can't remember. But they destroyed Navy. It was 55-3. And then they just took Troy. Troy's a really good team. They usually do pretty well. They destroyed Troy 48-7. So, and Louisiana Tech is going up to BYU. This is going to be a very away game. They're not used to playing up in that high altitude. And it's going to be at later time on their bodies. BYU is negative minus 23.5 points. So what we're going to do is we're going to take BYU minus 23.5 points. This is a Friday night game. So if you bet on this game, make sure you bet on it in time. So let's go ahead and mark that. BYU minus 23.5. So we went ahead and put BYU minus 23.5. I'm going to go over some key stats about BYU and why BYU is such a dominating team so far this season, why they are hot. When you look at Louisiana Tech and BYU, they lead every offensive category except for passing play percentage, third down conversion, and red zone scoring. Louisiana Tech does have lead on the red zone scoring, but they play lesser teams. I guarantee you they're not going to be having that stat after this. On defense, BYU controls everything on defense, and that's what you want to look for when you're looking at betting on games. You want to look at that defense, and you want to look at the offensive line. So, moving forward. All right, let's go look at South Carolina at Florida. This was, if you looked at the Florida Ole Miss game, Florida came in there. just like Dan Mullen did at Mississippi State. They just went in there and just dominated the game at Ole Miss. He still holds a lot of grudges against Ole Miss, even though he was the head coach for Mississippi State for the longest time. He went in there with this Florida team, just leveled Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss in that game. South Carolina should have won that game against Tennessee last week. Just a series of mishaps. Didn't work out for them. Florida is minus 18.5. And if you go back and you look at all the stats in that game, it was the first week for the SEC. But Florida is killing it on offense, just like Dan Mullen does every year. And with Florida, I'm willing to step out a little bit. I'm going to upset a lot of Georgia fans, but I would not be surprised to see Florida in the SEC championship game representing the East. I think for the West, I really do believe it is going to be Alabama this year. Alabama's playing Texas A&M. I don't have that game on there on the board, but that's going to be a really good game this coming up week. Texas A&M is going into Bryant-Denton Stadium, and I think Alabama is going to control that game from start to finish. Texas A&M always plays them tough, but I think it's going to be a closer game. So if you are betting on the Alabama game, just keep in mind that game's always played very tough and very close. So just keep an eye on it if you do bet on it. Getting back to the Florida game, this is going to be pretty evenly matched, but I think the offensive firepower that Florida has, and with that tight end, I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but I do think the way Florida's offense is rolling, I don't think 18.5 points. I think Florida can cover that 18.5 points pretty easily. I think this is going to be about a 25-point difference game. So what I would do is I would take Florida, buy down half that point for minus 18. And just like BYU, I'll buy down at half a point for 23. But for Florida, I would take Florida minus 18 points is what I'm doing. So let's go ahead and write that down. We're going to put Florida minus 18.5. All right, so the next game we have coming up is Texas Tech at Kansas State. Kansas State played a heck of a game, beat Oklahoma. Nobody saw that coming. If you have money on Kansas State, congratulations. Hats off to you, especially the money line pick. I know you guys made a lot of money. Texas Tech took Texas all the way down to the wire also. I was expecting an upset for that game, but Texas did come out and prevail. I think Kansas State in this game is riding that emotion. They had such a huge high for that game. I expect them to come in probably a little deflated. Texas Tech is still very hungry, especially losing to Texas and playing such a great game. I think Texas Tech is going to come out. They're going to have their foot on the throttle. They're going to play really good. Kansas State is probably going to be a little hungover from that great victory. So we're going to take Texas Tech minus 1.5 points. Texas Tech plus 1.5 points is where we're going to go. And this is going to be a really good game. And that's the reason why it's only a 1-point difference. Probably by the time you get to this game right now in the week, you're probably going to see, it's probably going to come down to just a pick'em game. And if it's just a pick'em game, I would take Texas Tech, but I'll really sit there and kind of look at it. I might even pass if it's just a pick'em game. Even at 1.5 points is pretty much still a pick'em game. But I think Texas Tech is going to come out here. They're going to roll. They're going to beat Kansas State. But Kansas State, they're playing really well. Their program is definitely moving up on a level, and so it could go either way with a pick'em game, but I think Texas Tech is going to win. They're going to come out scoring in the first half, and it's going to take Kansas State probably a little bit to figure out, to come back from that hangover and figure out where they're going to go. So we're going to take Texas Tech plus 1.5. And if I was smart, I would have taken Texas Tech last week because I would have covered and I would have won instead of went with Texas. All right, so the next game we have coming up this week is Arkansas at Mississippi State. If you look at Mike Leach, with the air raid offense, I understand it was just week 1. Derek Stingley was out for LSU, and they picked on Derek Stingley's replacement and, just harassed him all day long. and kept on throwing it to the replacement of Derek Stingley's replacement, and that's how Mississippi State has so much success. Arkansas is not at the level of LSU. Mississippi State has a ton of talent. That quarterback, that's a transfer from Stanford, I can't think of his name right now, is really good. He fits into Mike Leach's offense of the air raid offense. Arkansas does not have a shutdown corner to play against Mississippi State. And Mississippi State's only minus 18 points. I thought for sure Mississippi State was going to come into this game minus 25. Mississippi State's definitely going to win this game outright, and I would not be surprised to see Mississippi State is going to cover this 18 points. In fact, it might even move up a little bit later on in the week. You might see Mississippi State minus 20, minus 21, which is still a good buy. Once it gets past 23, 24 points, which I don't think we'll see, I would not take Mississippi State. I'll probably go to Arkansas. Arkansas is going to play a good game, but they just do not have the fortitude and the shutdown corners to play at such a high level. So we're going to take Mississippi State minus 18. All right, next up we have LSU at Vandy. If you look at last week's game against Mississippi State and you're already throwing in the towel saying LSU's done and everything else, I want you to realize something, and I should have covered it a little bit more about LSU last week. LSU lost 14 players to the draft last year, and then 3 more players that were supposed to come back this year decided to opt out and go straight to the NFL. You know, get ready for the NFL season coming up, NFL draft. So they only have 5 returning starters coming back on this team right now. Last week they lost Derek Stingley at the very last second. If I would have known that, I would never have picked LSU, but that was at the very last second of the game that they lost Derek Stingley. LSU also, I was looking at the Las Vegas odds of LSU last year, and I should have made a point about this last week. LSU's 2019 team compared to LSU's 2020 team is a 3.5 touchdown difference. I'll repeat that. Let me give you an example. Normally, whenever you have, like, say, an Alabama 2019 and 2020, it's a 7-point difference, you know, or 3-point difference, 6-point difference. Just to show you how different these two LSU teams are, it's a 3.5 touchdown difference between the 2019 season and the 2020 season. Just to go to show you, they are playing with a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores who have never seen any college football experience whatsoever. So Miles Brennan, who started, his last game was 3.5 years ago. And he's never played a single, starting snap for LSU except for last week. So they're going back to Vanderbilt. They went to Vanderbilt last year, totally leveled Vandy. Vandy started coming back in the end of that game last year during garbage season, during the garbage time last season. But LSU at Vandy, Vandy has plus 20. I think that is a lot of points for Vanderbilt. And it is my dark horse pick. LSU is going to win this game outright because Ed Orgeron needs a win, and LSU is going to play pissed off in this game, and they're going to come out, smacking some people around. But giving them 20 points, LSU's still trying to figure out their offense, where they want to go. They have the new offensive coordinator, and they're really trying to figure out the scheme with these 3 running backs. Their running backs are complete studs. Some of the best in the nation. They need to get them more into action. Give Miles Brennan a little bit of help. But we are going to take Vanderbilt plus 20 in this game. Okay, guys. And I'm pausing it so that way I can talk to you, and that way I can kind of speed up this video because there's so much more information. And also, the Pac-12 has decided to come back and play. This has just broke on my tablet while I'm giving up this thing. The college football committee was thinking about going to a 6 or 8 game playoff. They went ahead, decided to nix that. They're not going to do it this year. This year would have been the perfect time. They are just going to stick to the 4 teams, and that is it. They were thinking about the 6 or 8, expanded to 6 or 8 teams, but they said, no, we are not going to do that. We are just going to go ahead and stick to the 4 team minimum, and we're not going to explore any other options. I'm going to pause the video, but before I pause the video, I want to go over the bully picks for this week. We're supposed to have a guest speaker. She could not make it this week either. It's the reason why this video was pushed back a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and go over our bully picks. Who do we think is going to win and the bully picks, and go from there. So hold on. All right, so our bully picks this week is BYU, Florida, Mississippi State, Clemson, LSU, and Bama. Bama has a question mark because they're playing Texas A&M, so it's up to you if you want to take Alabama, or you can take Texas A&M, whatever you want to do, or not even take Alabama or Texas A&M in this. The bully picks are going to be a money line bet. So this is going to be straight up, who do we think is going to win these games, and that's who we think we are. LSU needs to win this game. There's no ifs and buts about it. If they don't win this game, as good as Coach O is to LSU and stuff, that seat's going to start getting hot. They can't lose to Vanderbilt, so they're definitely going to win. All right, so we have BYU, Florida, Mississippi State, Clemson, and LSU. And if you want to, you can take Alabama. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. I'm going to take Alabama. Alabama's going to be playing for the SEC West, and I really do think it's going to be Florida this year, not Georgia playing the SEC East. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to the Florida-Georgia game coming up later on this year. We shall see how that plays out. But these are my predictions. These are my picks. These are what I think is going to happen this week. And just like always, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take, we're going to parlay the picks. So we're going to get individual tickets. Then we're going to take BYU and Florida, put that on a 2-leg parlay. Texas Tech and Mississippi State, we're going to put that on a 2-leg parlay. Or you can not take Texas Tech, and you can put Vandy and Mississippi State, put that on a 2-leg parlay, and then do a parlay, a 4 or 5 leg parlay of BYU, Florida, Texas Tech, Mississippi State, and Vandy if you want to, or a round robin. Totally up to you, whatever you want to do. And then we're going to do one big old parlay for a money line parlay for BYU, Florida, Mississippi State, Clemson, LSU, and Alabama. I hope you guys do really well for week 5. I hope I do really well. I got some ground to catch up here, finishing 1-3 last week. So thank you for tuning in, guys. If you have a game you want me to look at, just let me know, and we'll go from there. I might start throwing in some baseball games. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that or not. I'm still 14-1 for the season, and I might just leave it like that because that's a great way to finish out. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, and let me know if there's a game you want me to add for next week's videos, and we'll dive into it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later.